you're not deficient, biotin and most hair vitamins will not grow your hair. The only supplement that can actually help is deficiency correction, and I will show you how to know if you are in that lane. In the next few minutes, you have a decision rule for what to buy, what to skip, and what to ask your doctor to test. We're ranking biotin, collagen, and many other hair vitamins into 3 buckets: waste of time and money, optional, won't kill you but may not work for you, and science-based. And I'll end this video with the only supplement protocol that makes sense without turning you into a forever customer. Also, biotin has a risk that almost nobody mentions. High doses can interfere with certain blood tests. I'll explain what that means and when it matters. Supplements can only influence the living parts of our hair, the follicle and its cycle, but length retention is mostly mechanics: friction, detangling force, heat, tension, and wear. With that in mind, let us do the ranking in 3 simple buckets, starting with waste of money all the way to science-backed. Bucket number 3, waste of money and time. So tons of marketing but low evidence. We've got 3 examples in this bucket. Number 1, biotin for hair growth in non-deficient people. Biotin deficiency does exist, yes, but it is very uncommon, very rare, and most people buying biotin are not even deficient. Evidence for biotin supplementation improving hair in healthy individuals is very limited, and much of the biotin works on my hair narrative comes from case reports in deficiency states or special circumstances, not general use of most people in a wide clinical trial, for example. Also, high doses of biotin has a potential health risk for our health that many hair supplement people barely mention. It can interfere with certain immunoassays, potentially skewing clinically important lab results, but it can grow your nails, so there is that. Number 2, hair growth vitamin mega blends. If supplements marketing is for all hair types or everyone needs this to grow your hair long, and it isn't actually anchored to a deficiency correction, the science doesn't support the certainty. The supplement literature is full of products with mixed ingredients and weak clinical backing, often using surrogate outcomes, small samples, and short timelines that don't even match what we think we are buying. Also, megadosing fat, soluble, or narrow therapeutic window nutrients inside hair vitamins, e.g. excess vitamin A, selenium, excess iodine in susceptible people can contribute to hair shedding, the opposite of what we want. Number 3, oral keratin / structural protein pills marketed for hair fiber. This category often implies that you can rebuild the hair fibers by swallowing structural materials. From a mechanics point of view, that's not how it works. Dietary proteins are digested into amino acids and peptides, right? Then the whole body uses it as it prioritizes. Not this particular protein is going to, when you take it, it's going to go into your hand and it's going to do something to your scalp. That's not how it works. At best, adequate protein intake supports the overall biology. At worst, this becomes expensive marketing with very minimal hair-specific outcomes. Okay, so moving quickly to bucket number 2. Won't kill you, but not really doing much, so save your money. This bucket is for things that show small or inconsistent effects in some studies and may help certain people or may improve the feel of the hair more so than the length of the hair. But the evidence is not strong enough to call them necessary to go get them today. In this bucket, we have number 1, collagen peptides. Collagen is heavily marketed for hair, skin, and nails. The better studies tend to show modest improvements in measures related to hair quality or growth markers in specific populations, but the overall state of evidence is still promising but not definitive, and study designs vary. Some studies may say that collagen peptides influence hair biology pathways, but mechanistic and animal data are not the same and not as robust as clinical outcomes. Look, there are also human studies on collagen supplementation and hair-related outcomes, but the headline is still modest at best. Modest effect sizes and variability across products and study methods. Treat collagen as optional, not as foundational or as necessary to your hair growth or length retention journey. Number 2, omega-3 and antioxidant blends. These are usually sold as anti-inflammatory control for the follicles. This is plausible. There might be some evidence here, and some supplement blends show signals in hair parameters, but the overall evidence base does not justify the certainty of the marketing. If you take these for general health, fine, but if you're taking them expecting hair growth and length retention, you may or may not see any benefits. And then number 3, we have multi-ingredient hair gummies with mild doses. These often contain a little bit of everything, some B vitamins, some zinc, some biotin, vitamin D, and the likes, usually at doses that look impressive on the label but don't correspond to a diagnosed need. They may help people who were borderline deficient to begin with and didn't know that they were, but for many people, they don't do anything measurable for the hair. The evidence base for routine supplementation in hair loss is mixed, and the highest yield approach is targeted evaluation rather than a blanket use, meaning if your diet is adequate, you're eating well, and you don't have any deficiency, most of these are neutral at best and not transformational. So save your money. Okay, to bucket number 1, science-backed. The only supplements I'm comfortable calling science-backed for hair are deficiency correction supplements. This bucket only works when you are correcting a real limiting factor for the follicle, meaning a documented deficiency or a clinical reason to suspect there is one, not because a supplement is inherently for the hair. So number 1 is iron and iron deficiency workups. If your ferritin and your iron indices are low, hair shedding and poor retention can occur, and correcting deficiency can improve these outcomes in some contexts. Evidence across studies in women with hair loss shows iron deficiency is common and associated patterns exist, even though the exact threshold and causality are still being debated, but low iron has been shown in women with hair loss, so iron may help you grow your hair by reducing shedding. Number 2, vitamin D only if low. Vitamin D shows up repeatedly in hair loss studies, especially in inflammatory and autoimmune hair disorders and in diffuse shedding contexts, but the key is still deficiency correction rather than random megadosing. Number 3 is zinc. Again, only if low. Zinc is essential to many cellular processes, and deficiency can contribute to changes in the hair. The literature puts zinc in the helpful when deficient category. Not everybody should take it category. Okay, here's why these work. Follicles are among the most rapidly dividing tissues in the body. So when you are low in a key input, e.g. zinc or iron or vitamin D, or even protein energy availability, follicles can shift out of growth and then you see increased shedding or poor caliber in new fibers. Repletion of these help you because you've removed the bottleneck, not because you found a magic pill to grow your hair. If you are actually deficient, correcting that problem can improve the incoming strand quality and reduce excessive shedding over time, which then supports length retention. If we are not deficient, we're just wasting our money. That's it. Now, let's answer the question everyone has on their minds. If supplements are not the answer, why do people swear by them? Why do people think that they worked? 3 very common reasons I'd like to share with you today. Number 1, the placebo effect. You take something, you think it's working, and so you start looking for growth, you may find growth. Number 2 is routine upgrade. People start taking a supplement, but at the same time, they start treating their hair more gently. They start hydrating it better. They start doing the whole routine because now they're finally taking care of their hair, right? The change in the routine and their habits is what is driving the retention, not the supplements. Number 3 is unrecognized deficiency correction. Some of us are borderline in vitamin D and zinc and iron, and a multivitamin maybe nudged those numbers up a bit. That's still deficiency lane, but the byproduct of that is what we are happy about, the less shedding, the more length retention, and the better hair quality. And then number 4 is cycle timing. Hair cycles are slow. If your shedding episode was already resolving as you started taking a new supplement, you can attribute the improvement to whatever it is you started doing, even though all this while it was just time and time would have corrected it. With that understood, we're going to discuss the only supplement protocol that you need that makes sense scientifically without turning you into a forever customer. Number 1, stop guessing. If your shedding has increased and your length retention is poor despite you being good and gentle with your hair, please go see a doctor and do a lab work. Step 2, If a deficiency is present, correct it properly with monitoring. Step 3. If you are not deficient, please save your money. Put the time and the effort into actually making changes for the betterment of your hair. Is betterment a word? Put your time and money into things that actually change length retention for natural hair. We're talking low detangling force, fewer friction events, less tension, less heat or use heat properly, fewer swelling cycles, and predictable cleansing, predictable conditioning. Wash your hair. Now, because biotin and collagen are the two most emotionally loaded supplements, let's rank them clearly once and for all. Biotin, if you're not deficient, is mostly hype with very limited evidence, and high doses can create false lab test problems. And as for collagen, it is optional. Some studies show modest hair-related improvements, but it is not essential, and it doesn't mean that it will work for you. And it will not outperform poor retention routines and poor retention habits. Supplements neither change the fact that the hair you see on your head is dead fiber, nor the fact that length retention is determined by fibromechanics, by friction, detangling force, swelling cycles, heat, tension, and weathering. What supplements can potentially influence is the living part of our hair, the follicle, and its cycle, but only when a deficiency or a systematic issue is actually present, no other time. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll catch you in the next one. Have a great day. Bye.